Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Logan here, and today I'm going to be going over lesson 2 of my Python Basics series. In this video, I'm going to have a quiz, and I'm also going to have a pretty extensive beginner project that's going to be multi-part, just to get your brain flowing. And at the end of the video, I'd like for you guys to kind of give me some feedback down in the comment section about the quiz. If you think it's too easy, if you think it's too hard, let me know. And as for the project, if you think I'm not giving enough detail, I'll make another video that's solely for the project, and I'll go back more in detail over the project itself and spend more time on it. So I'm going to jump right into this video. We're going to be covering the if, elif, and else conditional statements in this video. So right off the bat, we're going to start with this if command right here. So the if command, and when you type it in, it goes by this syntax right here. Okay, and as you see, when you put that syntax in, it will when you press enter, it will automatically indent for you. If it doesn't indent for you, just press tab and it will indent for you. Okay, this is a colon. These are two parentheses, and you can also put this right next to this. I usually put it one over just for readability. So how this if statement works is inside these parentheses is going to be something called a conditional statement. And basically what that means is if this block of code returns a value of true, then the program will, then the if statement will be ran. That's basically the best synopsis I can give you on that. This isn't going to look right, but that's basically what it's going to be like. So if this block of code returns a value of true, then the if statement will be ran. So what that basically means is whatever we put inside of this, say we say if x equals 10, okay, and we want to print this is an if statement. If we you have to define this variable. So what if we say x equals 5? Okay, this statement is going to read this variable, and it's going to go if that variable is equal. Sorry, you don't use the equal sign. You want to use the double equal sign here, because the double equal sign, there's a difference, and I'm going to go over that in a second, but I just accidentally did that. That was a mistake of mine. So basically what that's going to say is if 5, right here, if 5 is equal to 10, okay, the reason, I'm going to say the reason that you don't do this is because what it's going to say is it's going to give you a syntax error, and I'm going to show you that right now. It's going to give you a syntax error, and that is because you use this for when you're defining things, right? But when you use two equal signs when you are trying to compare something, when you're trying to compare them to see if they're equal to each other, when both of these are equal to each other, it will return true. So you only use this for conditional reasons when you're trying to see if something is true. So a way that you can do that without the print statement is print, and we can print x equals 5, right? Because x is equal to 5, because 5 is equal to 5. If we run that, you'll see it's not going to run this if statement because 5 is not equal to 10. But because we printed x equals 5, you'll see it prints out true. This, inside of these brackets, the output of this is equivalent to a boolean of true. So when this is equal to true, it will run this if statement. So as you'll see here, now this is ran because inside of this conditional, this equals the true. And that is like the best explanation I can give you for that. If you need a better explanation, I can think of one later. Just let me know in the comment section below if I'm not explaining that all that well. But so yeah, as you can see here, we also have these things called conditional operands, and that's what one of these is. So basically, you can use these different types of conditional operands to get different values, like to get different, manipulate different forms of data. So what if you want to know if what is in this variable is not equal to something else? You could use this operand, and what they'll say when you run it, it won't get an output because 5 is equal to 5. This is an exclamation point and an equal sign. If you have that, that's basically going to compare these two, just like the double equal sign does, but it's going to compare them and see if they're not equal to each other versus equal to each other. So this will return true, as you can see here, if x is not equal to 4. As you can see here, it will return a value of true right here because x does not equal 4. But if I say 5, you'll see that it equals false now because this does equal this. All right, so this if statement will only run if that conditional equals true, and this equals false in the manner it is. So as soon as you change that to 4, or whatever number that is not equal to what x is, you're going to get an output of what's inside your if statement. Okay, and then we have these two. I'm going to go over these two, but I'm not going to go over these two because they're literally the same but the opposite. But basically, you have, think of literally in math, it's literally just a greater than and less than sign. If x is greater than 4, then this will equal true, and it will output the print statement below. So as we can see here, we can also run this up here just to see the same output, and you will see that this is an output of true up here in this print statement because 5 is greater than 4. And this is also going to run this because the same thing up here, this is true, so it's going to run this print statement. Okay, so you also have your greater than or equal to sign. So when you put an equal to sign to the right of your to your greater than or less than sign, it's going to allow it to be the same number. So say if I have this 4 as my variable, then it's going to run this as true because 4 is greater than or equal to 4. But if I have this as 3 and I run this, you'll see it's false and it does not run the if statement because 3 is not greater than or equal to 4. Okay, I guess this is literally just the opposite. I'm just going to throw them in real quick and show you. It's literally just the opposite. See how this one prints out true? This is an if statement, and that's because 3 is less than or equal to 4. And 4 will also work in this because 4 is less than or equal to 4. But as soon as I put 5, it's going to come out as false. All right, next. Like I said, if you guys need help with anything more extensive in the comment section, let me know. Next, we're going to go with the and, or, and not logical operands. Okay, so what if we want to check to see if 2 different types of data are equal to each other? Or what if we want that? We're going to start with the and. I'm going to go to the other ones next. But what if we want to see if two different things are equal true? So what if I want to say bool 1 equals true, bool 2 equals true? Okay, you can do this with numbers too, but like you can use these greater than or equal to signs as well to do this, but I'm going to start with a boolean. So if I want to see if both of these are equal to true, I can just do this and in the middle of them and then do bool 2, and you'll see that when I save this and run it, you'll get this is an if statement because both of these are equal to true. You can also use a number. Okay, so you can say, I'm not going to change the variable name, but I'm going to say if bool is equal to 3 and bool is equal to 5. If bool 1 is greater than 2 and if bool 2 is greater than let me see, if greater than 4, okay, then it's going to print that. And you'll see it prints it because both of these equal true. Okay, it will not print this if one of these aren't correct. So if I say this one's greater than 100, you'll see it doesn't print anything because 5 is not greater than 100. Okay, and you can use the double equals, you can use these, you can use whatever you want for these conditionals, and you see that it will print that. It will print this is an if statement because bool 1 is greater than 2 because 3 is greater than 2, and bool 2 is definitely not 5 because 5 does not equal 100. So here we go. Now we can go on to the OR operand, okay? Because what if we only want to know if one of these are correct? What if we don't care if both of them are correct? We just want to know if one of these are equal true. The other one can equal false. We just want to know if one of these equal true, right? So what if I change that to a double equal, right? This will give you an output of this is an if statement because bool 1 is 3, and so 3 is greater than 2, but bool 2 is not equal to 100. 5 is not equal to 100, but you see if I also make this a 5 instead of 100, you'll see that it still gives you an output because both of these are true. Only one has to be true, but both of them can be true. And that's the thing about these operands is you can use as many of these things as you want. You could have more numbers. You can have as many as you want, really. Like as long as you're comparing, you're trying to get an output of something. You just say you had 100 different potential answers. You just want to know if one of those are equal to true so that you can have an output from the if statement. And you can have anything you want as this if statement. You can have an if statement that defines a variable that literally just creates a variable that's equal to true because maybe you only want something to equal true if this if statement is ran, right? You can do a lot with the if statement. All right, now that we're going into the not, I'm going to delete this, and this is going to be a little different. So this is kind of like the not equal to sign. That's pretty much what not is, but it's for specifically comparing when something is not true. Okay, so when something is not true, it will run the if statement. It's like the complete opposite of an if statement. Instead of the conditional having to equal true, it has to equal false to run. So if x equals 10, right, and if I say if, and I'm going to do my syntax for you guys, and I'm going to print I am the opposite of a true if statement. So it's a false if statement, as you will. So the reason I left this blank is because I'm going to fill this in now. It's just showing you the syntax. Okay, so now we want to know, is this thing true or not? So what we can do is we can come over here and say, if not. And then we put in here what we want to see, what we want to compare. So if this equals true inside our conditional, usually that would run our if statement. But in this case, it will not because it's looking for the complete opposite. So if I do this, if I say x equals 10, and I run this, you'll see we do not get an output because this is true, and this is not what we're looking for. But if I say if x is not 10, you'll see I am the opposite of a true if statement because 10 is equal to 10. It is not equal. So it's going to read this as false. So that's basically what it's doing. It's going to read that as false. And when something equals false, it's going to run this. So if I run this with the true operator, see, it's not going to work. It's not going to print anything. It's not going to run our if statement. Okay, so now we're getting into a little bit of more advanced things. I'm going to go out with the else. Okay, so what if I wanted to print, what if I wanted to know if x is not equal to 10, and I want to print out I am older than 10. Okay, so if x is not 10, wait, I'm just going to get rid of this. I'm just going to print out something stupid. I'm going to say hi. Okay, so if we want, we already know what this will do. It's not going to return anything because we know 10 is not equal. 10 is equal to 10. It's not equal. Okay, so what we can do next is we can use something called an else statement. An else statement is going to have almost the exact syntax, except instead of a conditional, it's going to be empty. And that's because it's going to say, if this does not run, then run this. So say, what if we wanted a alternate line of code to run if this isn't true? See, it's going to print by because this is not true. But if this is true, what you'll see is it will print hi, because if this is equal to true, it does not have to run this else statement. Okay, and this goes for the next thing as well. What if we want more than this? We can type, if we can have as many if statements as we want, but there's actually a word we have, and that's called elif. Okay, that's the wrong thing. We have something called elif right here, and that's literally, you put it in between if and else, and it basically means else if. Okay, it has the exact same syntax as an if statement. And I'm going to put, I'm going for a jog soon. Okay, and if this is not correct, it's going to try this one, and it's going to see if this is correct. Okay. And I'm going to put true inside of this just because we want that one to be true and we don't want that one to be false. Okay, I'm going for a job. I said job. Okay, I'm going for a jog soon. And if that makes sense to y'all. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to read this line of code. It's going to check if this is true. If this is not true, then it's going to try this one. See, if we made this an if statement, and we made both of these equal to true, what you'll see is it will print both of them, right? But if we have this elif in front of it, you will only get the first one because it's going to check this one and then check this one if this one is not true. But if you have multiple if statements, it's going to try all of them. It's going to check every single one of them, and then it's going to print this else statement if none of these are true. So we like to use this elif statement usually because usually we are wanting to check if multiple different things are true or false. Like you're usually looking for a specific value, and that's why you would use this. Okay. On to the next thing. We're on to quiz 2. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the quiz now. I would say pause the video and just give this a once over and see how you do. And just type it into the comment section. 1 is equal to that letter, 2 is equal to that letter, 3 is equal to that letter, and just try to conceptualize what would happen and try not to use Google. But if you cannot understand it because I didn't go over something well, then by all means. But I think this is a very, very easy quiz for you guys to think about. It's really just a kind of just a bunch of math, and it's just thinking about things. It's not too difficult. But I'm going to go quiet for a second so you guys can pause this. Okay, and if you are still here, I'm going to continue with the video. I'm not going to give the answers to the quiz here. I will do it in the next video. I know I didn't give the answers to the last quiz. I'm going to put that into the comment section because I forgot about it. But the next video, I will give the answers to the quiz. So I'm going to move on to the project 1. And this project is going to take a little bit of time. So basically, I'm going to have a prompt for you guys that I want you guys to read. And then after you read it, I want you to pause the video and try to think, using everything we've used since the very beginning, how you could potentially solve this problem. Okay, I'm going to do it in real world because I'm not going to be editing this video. So what I'm going to say is that you should just pause the video and read the prompts, and then just try to solve it yourself. But then at the end, I have a treat for you guys. We're going to be adding on to the end of this project. It's going to be even bigger. So but that's just going to be me adding a little bit of things. There's no prompt for it because this is my own addition to the project. I didn't write this up. This is something I found online. So, the portion I added is definitely from me. Okay, so that's a cool thing to try to do is when you're working with projects, finish the project, do it the way that the person wants you to do it on YouTube, but then try to add things. Try to personalize that project so when you show it to somebody, they go, I've seen that project before. But instead, they're going to be like, wow, that's so cool. You added that, and that. You made it look pretty. You made it cool. You made it faster. You made it more effective. You made it do its job better. Better yet. So we're going to start with the prompt before I get started with anything else. Like I said, I would pause the video and read each of these prompts. I'm going to go over them a little bit as we go if you don't like hearing somebody read. Okay, so the first part of the prompt says Sal's Shipping. Sal runs the biggest shipping company in the Tri-County area, Sal's Shippers. Sal wants to make sure that every single one of his customers has the best and most affordable experience shipping their packages. In this project, you'll build a program that will take the weight of a package and determine the cheapest way to ship that package using Sal's Shippers. Sal's Shippers has several different options for a customer to ship their package. Okay, you have ground shipping premium, and drone shipping. Okay, the difference is that one has a small flat charge, and plus you pay a higher rate based on the weight of the package. The other one is going to have a much higher flat charge, but you aren't charged by the weight of the package. But then you have drone shipping, and that one has no flat charge, but the rate is based on the weight, and is about triple the rate of ground shipping. Okay, so right here, this is the weight. This is the prices for ground shipping right here. We're going to take a look at this graph in a minute because that's what we're going to be building our if conditional based on. And then we have the other one right here. Like I said, pause if you're not done reading that. Moving on, we're going to go to the second part of the prompt, and then we have our second shipping method, and that one's just a flat charge of $125, and that's easy. So basically it's going to say if you do not want to pay for the weight, you can just outright buy this, because what if you're buying freight shipping? You don't want to pay all that money for the weight, because you could have a 1,300 pound dirt bike or whatever. That could be a hefty weight for a dirt bike. I don't know why I said 1,300, but you know what I'm saying. So drone shipping is their new shipping method, and basically it's like really expensive, but it has no flat charge and it's completely based on weight. So we're going to get right into this. It says write a shipping.py Python program that asks the user for the weight of their package and then tells them which method of shipping is cheapest and how much it will cost to ship their package using Styles shippers. You can name your thing shipping.py, but right off the bat, I want to tell you that when you're reading a prompt like this, the first thing you should always be doing is scanning. You can be scanning for keywords. Okay, it says in this project, you'll build a program that will take the weight. Right off the bat, you know that either you need to create a variable named weight and set it equal to a number, but in this case, we want to go further than that. We want to take an input and we want to ask the user who's using the application how much how much does your package weigh? Right? But here's the thing, is remember what I told you, if you just put input, you could get any number, you could get any string, you could get anything. Somebody could type true in there. You get like a Boolean output. So what we want to know is what type of data type do we want them to input? So obviously we could ask them for this is going to be a number because weight is a number. So it could be an integer, or the other one that I went over called a float. So weight usually isn't just a whole number. It has a decimal value. So we're going to come to the front of this. We're going to go float, parenthesis, and then closing parenthesis at the end. And what that's going to say is when we run this, you're going to see it's going to ask you how much does your package weigh. You just put whatever number you want. It's not going to do anything. I'm going to tidy this up a little bit because I don't want to have to type right against it. That's what I do to have a space right there in between this so you can type whatever you want. So just to make sure that this is being stored in the right way, we can print weight to see if it's holding the number that we call it in. So what if we say 10.00007? It will store that number in that variable, float or integer, because remember a float can be an integer, but an integer cannot be a float. So see, if I change this to an integer and I try to put in a decimal value like 10.07, you're going to get an error for value error because it's not going to know what that is. It's because it's not an integer. So we're going to go and type float back into this, and we're going to go on to the next portion of this project. Okay, right off the bat, we also know that there's going to be a price, because no matter which one you pay for, you're going to be buying something, right? So we're going to need a variable that's equal to that's going to be the price, and that's what you do in this. It's called initializing a variable before you use it in your code. It's a good idea. Sometimes it's a good idea to do this because sometimes it will throw an error. So what you do is you come up here and say price is equal to the data type you want it to be equal to. So that's what I'm going to say is price is equal to 0. And then we also know that we have, so this is going to be ground price. That's what I'm going to call this value. It's going to be the price of ground shipping. But then I'm going to make one also for drone price and set that equal to 0, because I want to know the cost of ground price and the ground shipping, and I want to know the price of drone shipping. You can do this all in one price variable, but at the end I'm going to be comparing these, and basically that's what I'm going to be adding. Is it's going to read the output of all three of these based on the weight, and then literally calculate which one's cheapest, and it will tell you which one to buy based on the price. So here's the thing: is we also have this ground premium price, because remember we have ground shipping, and we also have ground shipping premium and drone shipping. But here's the thing, is ground shipping premium says it has a flat charge of $125, but it doesn't have a graph based on like the weight. So, and right off the bat, we know that we can name this variable 125 because it's not going to be, well, I'm going to say 125.00. You can also put these down to 0.0, I believe. That shouldn't throw a problem. Yeah, it shouldn't throw a problem. So, I don't think you really have to do that, but, okay. So, because we want these to be decimals, because that is going to be a dollar amount. Okay, so next, based on the program, we know we want to we want our program to right here, ground shipping, which is a small flat charge plus a rate based on the weight of your package. Okay, so we want to calculate the ground shipping cost, and the best way to do that is, you see we have this this chart down here that's going to say 2 pounds or less, it's equal to $1.50 per pound. Okay, but and you get a flat charge of $20. So if the thing is 1 pound, it's going to cost $21.50. All right, but what if your package is over 2 pounds, but less than 6 pounds? Right. So the best, if you've looked at this and the first thing you thought of is use an if conditional, then you are correct, because that's exactly what we need to do. We need to come in here, we need to use our if, elif, and else statement to basically determine what the price of the ground shipping price is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in with an if statement that says if weight, our inputted value, that's right here, this is what the number they're going to input. So we want to calculate the weight if it's greater than 0, right, and weight is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so the reason for that is because we want to know that in between value in between 2 or less, because we can't have a weight of a negative number. So we want to know when it's greater than 0. Okay, because we don't want a weight of 0. We want anything above 0. Okay, and a weight of less than or equal to 2, because we have 2 pounds or less. Okay, that doesn't say 2 pounds. Equal to 2 pounds equal then. You can't have 2 pounds here. It has to be more than, or it has to be less than 2 pounds. No. This is 2 pounds or less, so that is equal to. But yeah, so less than or equal to 2. We can actually, I think, get rid of this then. We can just say weight is less than 2. Okay, so on to the next thing. The syntax is important. Remember that. We're going to say price, ground price is equal, because now we do a little bit of math. We get based on our chart over here. We're going to say what? We want to know what our ground price is, weight times what the price per pound is for this section. And this section is $1.50. So that's what we're gonna do. Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah, I was just explaining that a little wonky. I'm gonna fix what I said earlier. So basically, what I was trying to say is this right here, because I did mess that up. It's going to say 2 pounds or less. We want to know that we want to see if the inputted value is 2 pounds or less. So it can be less than or equal to 2. Okay, because the inputted value can be 2 or less, but not less than 0, and that's why I did this, because we don't want a value of 0, because nothing weighs 0 pounds. Okay, so our thing, we can do our weight times 1.5, but at the end of this, we also want to add that $20 flat charge, right? So our 20.00, and that's what we're going to do. You don't have to add the 0.00. I'm just doing it for context that we know it's a float. So if I come down here and I print this, and I print ground price. It's been a long day, guys. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm, not explaining things very well. So, yeah, as you can see, I'm going to run this, and it's going to print out for us the ground price based on this calculation I made, based on this chart. So if I run this, and it asks me how much does your package weigh, and I want to put in a value that's greater than 0, but less than 2, or less than or equal to 2. So if I put 2, it's going to give us 23, and you can calculate that and know that's true because weight is, I put in 2, so 2 times 1.5 is equal to 3, right? And then you add 20 to that, and that gives you the output of 23. And if we can put any number we want other than 0 and above 2. So if we put 2.1, right, we're gonna get a it's going to give us 0 because it's not going to run this. It's going to say that is equal to 0 because, sorry, I was thinking of something else. But yeah, it's going to give us a value of 0 because it's not going to calculate this if statement at all, because it's going to go, well, that doesn't meet that conditional, so let's print ground price. And ground price in that case was 0. Okay, so now that we know that this one works, we can go on to the next thing on our on our graph over here, because now we want to check elif if weight. All right, let's think about this. If weight is over 2 pounds, because now we have greater than or equal to, so we want to know if it's greater than, not just greater than or equal to, because we already have the equal to sign, because that one says 2 pounds or less, so this one can be 2 pounds. But for this bracket, we want to have anything over, so we don't want an equal to sign. We want to know if weight is over 2, right? And then we can also say but less than or equal to 6. And the best way to write that is to put an and weight is less than or equal to 6, because it says that right there, but less than or equal to 6. So that's what this is going to do, is it's going to read this thing. It's going to say, is weight greater than 2 based on the input they give, and is it also less than or equal to 6. So if I run this, well, actually, sorry, I have to do the calculation first, so we're going to do that first. But so we're going to say ground price is equal to, where you can actually just copy this, because if you look over here, we have our price per pound for this section is $3, right? Our flat charge doesn't change, but our actual price does, right? So that's what I'm going to say, is that now if this conditional is equal to true, ground price, our 0 up here, is going to equal the weight times 3 plus 20, just like it was up here. So if I run this, now if I put 2 in there, it's going to, oh, I didn't print anything, I'm sorry, print ground underscore price. I want to save that. Now, I see if I run the previous value of 2, it's going to give me 23 again, because that's going to run this if statement, right? But now if I run 2.1, because last time it came out to 0, remember, right here it came out to 0, because it couldn't calculate it because it wasn't in the scope of this if statement. So now if I type it this time, it will calculate it, because in this bracket, 2.1 fits this conditional, because 2.1 is greater than 2 and less than 6, less than or equal to 6, sorry. So we can calculate this by taking 2.1, multiplying it by 3, and that gives us 6.2. Wait, sorry, I'm in a dead brain right now. 2.1 times 3 is equal to 6.3. Okay, so 6, and then you add 20 to that, and that gives you 26.3. All right, now on to the next bracket. We have 2 more still, and now we want to know if something is over. Haven't you seen the trend yet? You can probably finish this without me and skip ahead if you've already figured out the pattern. So basically, you're just going to keep going up. This side's going to have the less than or equal to, and this side's going to have no equal to sign. And that's just going to be literally the same thing across the entire time. But the value inside of it is going to be changing. So this time we want to know if it's greater than 6, just like over here, we want to know if it was greater than 2, just like this one's equal to 2 and this one's equal to 6. Okay. But now we want to change this value. We don't have to change the sign because we still want to know if it's less than or equal to 10, correct? So now all we got to do is change that. And we can copy our ground price, but we need to change what? You guessed it, the price the price per pound, and that's 4.0. You don't have to type out the 0 if you don't want to, but I just do it so you guys can understand that it's a float value. So yeah, I can actually test this again by showing you guys just exactly what I'm doing. So if I type in 6, it's going to run the second elif statement, and because 6 is in this bracket, so 6 times 3 is 18 plus 20 is 38. Okay, but if I run it again and say I type in 6.1, because that's out of the scope of the second one and it's in the scope of the third one, because 6.1 is greater than 6. And it's going to print out 44.4. And it's basically just going to take 6.1, multiply it by 4, and then add it to 20. I don't want to get out the calculator, but it's going to equal to 44.4. It's right. So now we have one thing left for this shipping, and that is we also want to give a value based on if the weight is over 10. So it's going to have the same flat charge and same price per pound once it's over 10. So it's like anything. If it's 100 pounds, it's going to go by this price per pound. It's not going to be more expensive. It's just going to be based off this price per pound. So we want to say else. Using our else statements, we can just go straight down, because remember, we don't have a conditional for the else statement. You learned that earlier. So now we want to say else. We don't have to say else greater than 10, because we already said because we've already established that our scope is 0 to 10. So anything great out of that scope is going to be else. Okay. -1, I believe, would be else too, but it's going to give you, I believe that would give you an error. I'll try that too just to see, but I believe I did this correctly. So we're going to say else because we want everything greater than 10. We're going to take our ground price, and all we have to adjust is the price per pound, and I think that's 4.75. Yep, that is correct. So now if I run this, and if I type out what's in the scope of this, if I type in 10, right, it's going to run this one because 10 is in this scope. It is equal to 10. So ground price is 10 times 4. It's 40. 40 plus 20 is 60. Okay. Now if I run it again, and if I type in 10.1, this is the trend, it's going to give us this rather weird number. You can add later on, if you're curious, you can add a rounding function that rounds up to the nearest 2 decimals, because just like money, you don't have a half of a penny. So yeah, I mean, you can do that if you want to. I'm not going to show you all that because I just want to keep it the native Python. I don't want to be using different functions and formatting. That's going to be kind of confusing for a beginner. So I also want to check to see if our negative numbers work, just to give y'all an idea. So it does work, but what scope is that in? So -1 is going to be what? -1 times 4.75 plus 20? No, I don't believe so. So which scope is it in? Because we want to know, we don't want a negative value for a weight, right? So let's test this out. -1 plus 4.75 plus 20. 23.75. So it's not in that scope. So let's test the next scope. So we're gonna say. Oh, wait, I think I did that wrong, didn't I? Yeah, I gotta do that, don't I? I'm being stupid. 7.5 plus 20. Yeah, and that gives us 15.25. It's gonna go in this scope because I said else, and I didn't say that it couldn't be that. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to go through how to get rid of the negative because my brain can't handle it right now. I've had a long day. But yeah, I'm going to go to the next thing because if you wanted to go that in depth, you could have an if statement that basically says we can do it. Sorry for cussing, but so we could say if weight, right? We got to do our bracket. If weight is greater than, well, if weight is greater than -9999, we'll just put that as the scope because you can do a much bigger number, but we're just going to say that if weight is greater than 9999 and weight is less than or equal to, we're going to say -0.0001. We're going to try that first, okay? And we're just going to say print no negative numbers. We're going to try that. I might be having a brain fart and doing this wrong, but let's see if that fixes our problem. Oh, I didn't do a closing parenthesis. So if I put -1, it should say no negative numbers and then print out ground price, okay? So that's a good start. Now, because I didn't even think about that when I was designing this project. We don't want negative numbers. I thought I had fixed it, but see, that's how programming goes, and you'll learn that as you program. You can sit here and conceptualize an entire project, and then you get to actually coding it, and you're going to realize that you're making mistakes. And that's exactly what I did, and you just caught me on camera doing it. So it's like you have to be constantly trying to better your code. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but then I realized it's a good learning experience for you guys because sure, I could put in a number that's probably less than that scope, and it would still try to run it in the else statement. Like, say I typed in -99, right? Or sorry, let me try. I think it has to be out of that scope. So -99999, right? Because I only did the 4. It's going to calculate it into this weight. I mean, I could go on forever and type as many 9s as I want to, right? But it's just for a project. I'm just trying to be reasonable. So if I do that, it's going to say no negative numbers. So, I mean, you can do that as long as you want to. If you want to go to the millions and trillions and bajillions, then you go ahead and you do that. That's you can do whatever you want on your own accord. But okay, I've been spieling on, so I'm going to go on to the next portion of the project. We want to next remind, we can actually clean this up a little bit first. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to give them a thing that says your subtotal with ground shipping is, and then I'm going to do that because now it's going to, when I run this, whatever number I type in, it's going to say your subtotal with ground shipping is 32. It's going to calculate what bracket it is, and it's going to give them an output on the price. Okay, now that we're done with ground shipping, you can pat yourself on the back. We're on to the next portion of the video. I'm sorry this video is going to be a little long, but so right off the bat, we can see something here, right? Is the next two portions of this, if you look at the graph is literally the exact same values as this. So you can literally copy and paste this entire graph and just insert your own flat charges. Like you can get rid of these 20s because they're zeros and just put a new price per pound, right? But before we do that, even if we've already determined what ground premium is, we still need to tell the user, right, that how much their ground premium cost is because they might have forgot. So your subtotal with ground premium shipping is. You can say 125 because we know it, but what if ground shipping changes? You want to be able to just change that that variable up there. You don't want to have to come back down here and change code because you didn't change something. Because like, what if you wanted to change this number? See, like I'm gonna run it first to tell you show you the output, but see, it's gonna tell you your subtotal with ground shipping is 125. What if it changes one day and their prices change? What if you want to be able to change this to 100, right? That's all you have to do is you can just literally change the input, right? But if you put it into this, you actually have to come down, search for this line of code because this is, 20, like I think 20 lines of code. Actually, it's 23, I think. Yeah, it's 23. But this thing could be 800 lines of code. I've seen, C++ and C programs that have over 800 lines of code. I mean, I'm sure there's some with Python too. Like depending on if you're building an application, So you just have to remember that you need to make things easy on yourself in the future. Okay, and that's also part of the thing where you want to give yourself comments. You want to say input package weight. That way you know what these things are doing. You can say initialize variables for scope. Okay, we haven't gotten the scope, but that's basically like in a way that you initialize variables so that pieces of code that call them can see them because scope is something that you'll learn later on, but so we'll just say initialize variables, but scope is something that's very important later on. Okay, so and then you can also come up here because we're gonna have two ifs. If we're gonna have two like different trees of these because we need one for regular shipping and we need one for drone shipping, right? So we want to say calculate ground shipping because now we know if we need to change anything, we can just come back here and we find this, and we can come over here and say log to console. And these brackets of code are literally just our console logs. So we don't actually have to worry about those. But now we can come over here and go calculate drone shipping. Because now we want to do the next one. And like I said, we can literally just copy this entire thing. If we wanted to. If you want to go through it and you want to try it and you want to see if you can figure it out, since I've already done this one, and you want to see if you can do it, just pause the video and just try to do it without looking at the other one. But basically all we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to change what? What are we going to do? What are we going to change? There's there's three different things we need to change. We need to change the variable that it's going to equal. We need to change the price per weight. And we need to get rid of these flat charges. So that's what I'm going to start with, by getting rid of these flat charges. All right, and then next we can come over here and you can see price per pound is different for drone shipping. And we're going to say 4.50. You can just do 4.5, it's the same thing. 9.0. 12.0, right? And then 14.25. As you can see, that's going to get very expensive. Drone shipping is very expensive. So, all right, and now if we run this, well, it's not going to print anything out yet. So I want to now print this exact same thing, right? Well, here, I want to print out this exact same thing, but I want to print it out for what? I want to print it out for drone shipping. Well, I haven't even finished that, so I'm just being kind of stupid and slow right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and create this log, but we're not ready to run the program yet. I'm having a brain fart. So what we can do is we can copy and paste our drone price variable and just come through here and change these ground price variables over to drone price, because that's what we want to calculate. We want to know the drone price. All right, so now this looks good. We've changed the price per pound. We got rid of the flat charge. You can do +0 just if you want to remember there's a flat charge, but it doesn't matter because you're going to get the same thing either way. So yeah, let's run this and we'll see. So if I give, say I have a weight of, say this, you have a package that's 10.45 pounds. Okay, it's going to give you your subtotals based on those different shipping types. Wait, I forgot to change ground premium back to 25. So just imagine that one says 125. Okay, but yeah, so see, this program now tells the customer, hey, your subtotal with ground shipping is $69.64 because you round to the nearest decimal, and that's a 7, so it rounds up. So, and this, as you can see, is very expensive. So, which would be the cheapest in this case would be ground shipping, because this is 125 and this is 149 ish, and this is about $70. So that is much cheaper. I mean, this one is much cheaper than either of these. So that's what we want to do, is now we want to make a program that reads these different numbers and actually tells the user which one they should pick, right? So if they give you 8.4, here's just another one. There's even reasons why you would want to go with the ground premium shipping, because say that thing weighs 100 pounds, right? Look how much drone shipping would cost you. Look how much regular shipping would cost you. That is definitely the one you'd pick if you had something that weighed over 100 pounds. Or say even over 50, because that's probably when it starts getting expensive. So that's the point of this, is just to conceptualize. You want to run things. I say run, when you do something and you are doing calculations, try to run things about 5 times and just give different types of numbers. Give your negative numbers, see if it throws an error, and just check everything. Because you never know if you have a bug in your program until you try. So I say try 5 different tests for calculations, and then go on. But because you're always going to run into bugs when you least expect it. But you have to run the code in order to know if there's bugs, because that's when you find out there's bugs, is when the code is ran. Okay, so now, since I've been spieling on, I'm going to go on to the next thing, okay? There's another portion of this project that I'm pulling up on my other laptop right now, and that is we want to calculate which one of these shipping prices are cheapest, right? That's why we gave each of these an individual variable instead of just saying price, because we could have done that. We could have named the variable price, and it would have just been the same thing except for ground premium, because it doesn't have a calculation, right? We could have done that, but we had separate variables because now we want to take each of these variables, and we want to compare all 3 of them to each other at the end to see which one is cheaper. Okay, so now right off the bat, we can actually get rid of these if we wanted to, but I'm going to keep them just for now. And now I'm going to bring on the next bracket of this, and that's going to say calculate the cheapest shipping method. Okay, you can go ahead and try it by yourself. Go ahead and pause it if you want to, but I'm going to jump straight into this. So now we just need to think, okay? We need to conceptualize this in our brain for a second, okay? We want to know, all right, I'm going to give you a hint. We're going to be using an if statement, obviously, because we're in the if lesson. And it's going to ask us, we need to know when our ground price is cheaper than our drone price, and when our ground price is cheaper than our ground premium price, right? Because that's, I can write this out so you can understand it a little better. So if ground, you can name these variables whatever you want if you don't feel like typing out all this stuff. You can just name them price 1, price 2. So what I can say here is if ground price is less than drone price, right? And I'm gonna close the brackets here and then do the and, just so it's a little easier to read on the eyes. So, but I also want to know if ground price is also less than what? What did I name it? Ground premium with a underscore? Yes, I did. Okay. Right? So that's that easy. We want to check to see if ground price is less than drone price, and see if ground price is less than ground premium, because that checks both of them. It goes, yes, we checked both ground premium, drone price, and ground price, and we know ground price is the cheapest because it's cheaper than drone price and cheaper than ground price. Okay, I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. But now what we want to say is subtotal. We want to create a new variable called subtotal and make that equal to ground price, because what that's saying is now we're creating a new variable and we're setting that variable equal to ground price, because the reason for this is because now that we have all three of these different types of price variables, we want to combine them without changing them, if that makes sense. Because if we change them later on, we're affecting the ground price, but say we have another program that comes in and reads the ground price, it can be changed because of this. So that's a way of avoiding that, is you can actually set another variable equal to another variable and it will take on the appearance of it, but it won't change this. So this ground price can still be called from here. As you can see, I can go print, right? I can go print ground price, and I can also say print subtotal, and you'll see that they are literally the same thing. Okay, so, but it'll only run this, remember, if ground price is the cheapest, right? So I'm going to say 4, or I'm going to say 10.05, okay? And now it's going to say, how much did your package weigh? Because it ran this. See, I didn't make anything pretty. I just made it print out the variable. As you can see, they're literally the same variable. They have the exact same value, because this variable is just taking the appearance of this variable. And the reason we're doing that, is you'll see, is because we want to create this subtotal box, because later on we're going to be calculating the taxes for the total, right? So we want to create a generalized variable for all three of these now. So if one of them is right, it'll be saved into the subtotal box. That way we can calculate all three of them without having to write 3 different lines. 3 different blocks of code that individually calculates the taxes based on ground price and drone price and ground premium. It just says subtotal. You only got to calculate the taxes one time. And you'll see what I mean in a second, because that's what I'm going to say print. I'm going to say print ground price is the cheapest. Yay, ground price is the cheapest, because that's what we want to tell our users, that this is the cheapest one in the market. So we could also print out the value right over here too. We can also say subtotal, just to give them an idea of their subtotal so far. And now that we have this, we can get rid of that, because we don't actually care about the ground price anymore. We care about the subtotal. Okay, so now we can come over here and create our next bracket, and now what do we want to check? We want to check if drone price, right? We want to do the exact opposite. We want to check if drone price is less than ground price, and that drone price is less than ground premium, right? Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to set subtotal equal to what? We want to set subtotal equal to drone price, because now we want, if this chain is ran instead of this one, we want subtotal to be created with the alias of drone price instead of ground price. Okay, if that doesn't make sense to you, I can try to explain that in the comment section. Just let me know if that doesn't make sense to you, or if it does. That's basically like it's inheriting the value of the variable you make it equal to. So this value is equal to drone price. So it's, if this variable is 5, then subtotal now equals 5. Okay. So now we can also say subtotal equals drone price. We already have that, but now we want to print out what? That we want to say drone. We could have done this one last because I wanted to kind of keep it in order. So we can do this one. We're going to put one in between this because remember we did earlier, we did ground premium in the middle because we're doing it in order. It's just my OCD. So we're going to say drone price is the cheapest, right? And we can actually either put the subtotal like this, or we can put it on its own thing, right? And say your subtotal is, right? If we wanted to do that, you can do that too. Both of these work. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this because that's the cool part about using a variable like this is I can just literally I can just copy and paste it. I don't have to change any variables because we have that subtotal variable right here now. Okay, so we don't need this extra print statement. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and test that real quick, and I'm going to show you so we can get rid of drone price, right? And now if we run if drone price is the cheapest, right, then it will print out your subtotal is equal to 4.5 because drone price is the cheapest. Because I guess I could undelete that, and I could also print out I'm going to say ground shipping is ground price, just so I can show you that how it's cheaper. So you can see ground price is the cheapest with it being 4. It's saying your subtotal is $32, and it's basically you can say it's equal to $32. So I'm just giving you guys a way to look at it and not like knock your heads together with it. So now I'm gonna say 1, right? All right. Drone price is the cheapest. Your subtotal is 4.5, and as you can see, if you come down here, the drone shipping is 4.5. So we calculated that right. Okay, we did this correctly. That's good. We're getting somewhere. Okay, so now we want to create another elif statement. And what is this one going to do? It's going to check if ground premium is, yep, it's the same thing. Now we're checking to see if ground premium is less than what? It's less than drone price, right? And we want to see that it's less than ground price. It's literally that simple, guys. If you already got this project and you don't want to continue with it, that's up to you, but I'm just adding my own spiel to it. This video could have ended a while back ago. I'm just having fun with it, and I think you guys should feel the same way because you can do a lot with a program. You can personalize your program however you want. Okay, so now we can just copy this, right? We can put this in our code, and the only thing we gotta change is ground premium, because now we want this to be equal to subtotal. And now if we run this, you'll see that if our weight is 100, you're gonna see ground price. Well, sorry, I didn't change this, but it would say ground premium shipping is the cheapest. I don't know why I said ground price, but ground shipping, yeah, that's what we wanted to say, because this is like a customer's reading it. So drone shipping, right? So now if we put 100, it's going to say, yo, your subtotal is $125, and ground shipping is the cheapest. And as you can see, ground shipping is equal to ground shipping. Awesome. We're getting somewhere, all right? Now we know we can get rid of these because now we know this program can calculate the cheapest shipping method based on what we give it. This is so cool, right? So now if we run this, since I got rid of the other bit, you can just go 5, right? 5 pounds. Ground shipping is the cheapest. You could do this for all of the different values. You keep trying it as many times as you want. It's going to calculate your subtotal for you based on which one's cheapest. It's not even going to show you the other ones, because why do you need to know how much they are if this one's the cheapest? Right? You mean you could also show the other two prices just to show your customer that, hey, it is the cheapest. You can compare the prices if they want to see them. But this is how to automate it. Like, what if this is online, right? Or what if this is a disabled person and you're selling it to a disabled person, you want them, and they can't decide for themselves which one's the cheapest. All they gotta do is put in the weight of the package, or you do for them, and it would go, this one's the cheapest, this is what I should charge them, ship it to their house for that price, right? All right, so now we're to the fun. I mean, this is the fun part was that, but now we can take it a step further. Okay, now we want to calculate subtotal after taxes with a 15%, yes, a 15% discount code if they have a discount code. Okay? So now we want, so basically what this is saying is now we want to create a something that basically says, hey, what is the total? I guess we can say calculate total after taxes with a 15% discount if they have a discount. So what does that mean? We need to create an if statement that basically asks, hey, well, first we need an input that says, hey, do you have a discount code? And it could look for an input of yes, or you could ask for the discount code, or you could take them at their word and just give them the discount, or you could design it where it actually takes in a code, and that code is hardwired into your code, and it's going to see if you can calculate it to see if they're equal to each other, right? But for this instance, I'm just going to ask them yes or no, right? Well, actually, I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to show you two ways you could do this. But first, we want to what? We want to initialize how much our taxes are. You can do this down here. I mean, you could initialize your variables anywhere you want, but it's usually a good idea to initialize your variables at the very beginning of the page, so that if you ever have to go back and change it, you don't have to scroll down 800 lines of code to change a variable. So based on my area, my state, I'm going to say a 0.07 for our tax. That's 7%. I think that's Florida's tax. So I'm going to say a 7% tax, but then I don't have to initialize this variable up there because this is an input, and I don't want that input to be ran at the very beginning, because whenever you initialize an input, it's going to immediately ask for that input. So now I'm going to ask for an input based on a discount code, okay? So I'm going to say answer equals string input, because I only want a string, okay? Input usually reads something as a string, but I want to specifically tell it I only want a string, okay? So input, do you have a discount code? Question mark. And now this is something cool too. So remember, you have to do two closing ones because you have two parentheses. I'm going to use something you haven't seen before yet, but because I'm going to show you with and without it, it just makes something easy. So when you're doing your if statement, right, you want to say if answer equals the string yes with a lowercase, right, and you want, or actually you want to use the or method for this one, because you want to see, because any of these options would be right, okay? So you don't care what they say as long as it equals yes of some sort, whether it's a Y, whether it's capital Y. But basically, so this is what I'm going to say. If you don't do it the way I'm about to show you, you'll have to do if answer equals Y with a lowercase. You have to do it with a Y that's an uppercase. You'll have to say, like, you'll basically have to do this. You'll have to do 2 lines of this that goes, right? And you have to do it for capital Y. You have to do it for capital Y. Anything you want it to equal, right? But what I'm going to show you is a pretty cool workaround. All you got to do is, when you're doing this, it's called this is a string method that you can learn on your own. There's a bunch of different string methods. That's called .lower, right? You're calling a function that basically reads this code, this input, right? And then it's going to automatically make whatever they enter lowercase. So if they enter all capital FFFFFF, right, it's going to make it all lowercase FFFFFF, right? So that way we can only look for what we want, and that's the letters YES. We don't care how they spell it. We don't care if how it looks, as long as it's YES or Y of some sort, right? So now we can say, so they said yes, right? So now we want to create a discount, right? And set it equal to 0.15. We don't want to initialize the discount up here, because then the discount could be given to anybody, right? So we only want that discount to be equal to 0.15, 15%. We want to give them 15% off of their total purchase for shipping if they have this discount code. So what we're going to say is discount total, right, is equal to discount times subtotal, right? So what that's going to say is it's going to multiply 0.15 and the subtotal and store it inside this variable subtotal. Inside this variable discount total. Alrighty? So that's super cool. But now we want to do something else. We want to subtotal minus equals discount total. Right? So what that's going to do is now it's going to take the subtotal, because now we already multiplied these. That's going to give us a number. Say it's 0.15 times 100. I think that's 15. So it would give us $15 off, right? So it's stored the value of 15. But now we have to minus $15 from the subtotal, and that's what that's doing. It's saying subtract $15 from subtotal. That's the same thing. Remember I taught you all this. It's basically the equivalent of going subtotal minus discount total equals subtotal. So it basically updates the total of subtotal with $15 less, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the original just so y'all can see it. So that's basically just anytime this is red, it's going to take the subtotal and it's going to subtract it by whatever is here. So if there's a 5 there, we'd subtract subtotal by 5, right? So now next, we're going to, we want to print, right? We want to print out how much they're saving, because that's kind of important, right? We don't need to show them their subtotal yet. We want to just show them how much they saved, because that's important for a business. That's like their trick scheme is we want them to come back and buy more, right? So we want to tell them, hey, a 15 discount code, a 15% discount of blank. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert our discount total, right? And then we're going to create another string. So that's basically going to surround this variable with words. That's going to go a 15% discount of how much the discount was, and then will be applied to your total at checkout. Isn't that dope? So now we just created a program that will literally it will take your, think about this. Think about how complex that is for something so simple. You're doing so much. You're taking a weight in, you're telling them which one's the cheapest shipping method, and then literally creating a discount method, and then printing out. Now we're about to print out something else. We're going to break out of this if statement, and now we want to calculate the taxes, right? The taxes. Right, we can get rid of the calculate total after taxes. We can say calculate subtotal, right? We can break that apart and say calculate subtotal with a 15% discount if they have a discount code, and then calculate the taxes, right? Because this is important. If you don't charge somebody taxes, you can get in a lot of trouble, right? So now what we want to do is create a variable named total, because now we don't want to show them the subtotal. We want to show them their actual total, right? And we're going to set that equal to, you can try this yourself. What do you think it is? It's going to be subtotal, right? Whatever minus the discount, if that discount was applied, whatever that subtotal equals, right, times our tax percentage, right? And then we want to add subtotal, because what that's going to do is if subtotal is $15, or say, if subtotal is $15, it's going to say 15 times 0.15, right? And that's going to give, here, I'll actually do 100. If $100 is times 0.07, right? It's going to give us $7, okay? But now what it's going to do is it's going to add 7, right? We want to add the 100 back, and that's our new total, because that's how it works. Taxes are added on, they're not subtracted, right? So we need to add the taxes to the end of the subtotal, and that's how you get a total. Right now, at the very end, we just want to print out a very simple your oh, what did I do there? Your total is total. Since I actually went over another thing today, I'm actually about to show y'all something cool. All right, since this is the very end of the program, I'm gonna run it first and show y'all how the program runs and see if there's any bugs I can fix. Do they have a program? A discount code? I'm gonna try Y, or I'm gonna try N first, and that's gonna see it did not apply a discount code, so the total is 64. But see, if I do the same number, I think I ran what, 10. Now if I do the same number, 10, right? It's going to see it's the 60 again. Your subtotal is $60. Do you have a discount code? Yes, or you can type Y. And then see a 15% discount of $9 will be applied at checkout, right? Your total is $54. You can add the money sign if you want to, but here's what I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you something called an F string, okay? If this is too advanced for you and you do not want to learn this, that is completely up to you. But basically, what you'll do is you'll put an F right before your string, okay? And now what we can do is we can actually put our variable inside of the string, okay? But what we have to do is we can surround it, right, by these little curly brackets. And what that'll do is you can see over here, it did say your total is $54. And if you let me show you this real quick, if I put the same exact numbers, right, and I'm going to show you this time with capitals, right, it still applied it, even though we only told it over here that we wanted YES lowercase or Y, right? So a 15%, you'll see that it's literally the same total because we used this F string and literally formatted the variable into that. And you could use that for any of these. You could get rid of this. Well, I wanted to keep that in there, right? So I want to get rid of that. I want to combine these, but I want to put my curly brackets around this, and I want to put an F right there. See, now when it shows me how much my discount is, right? Yes. See, a 15% discount of $9. And what you can do here is you can put a money sign before these, right? And what that'll do is now when you put your 10 in and you put discount code, you'll have a little $9 thing in front of it. You can do that for all of these if you want to. You can literally do this however you guys want to, and I'll show you right here too. I know this video has probably been long enough, but I'm going to show you right here. So you can literally do this with everything. F strings are awesome, and it's something you'll learn a lot later. If they're too complicated for you and you don't want to wrap your mind around it because this video is already long enough, I feel you. You don't have to do anything you don't want to. I did not mean to do that, so, well, I guess it don't matter, but, so yeah, I'm just gonna put that back to normal, because I messed with something I shouldn't have. Okay, so, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. This video was pretty long. Yeah, I mean, you guys should pat yourself on the back, though. You just created not only your first program, but technically your first program that actually did something useful. Sure, it wouldn't actually be applicable because it's not in an app. It's just literally a command prompt program. But you put something on paper and it worked. And if you did it yourself and you were able to think through some of this, even if you messed up, even if you could not get your head around it, right? You put something on paper and that's what matters. That's what matters. So you did this. You did everything today that you should have done for learning if, elif, and else statements. And next episode, I'm going to be going over while loops and for loops. Okay, I will have the answers to the quiz in the next video. in the comment section, just so I don't give them out too early. So you guys have a good day. It has been a long video. Y'all take care and have a good night. All right. See you guys. It's Logan.